I think maybe the expectation that's wrapped up in having a positive marriage role model of people who like each other is that means it's easy. And we're 16 years in, and like we know that we've put in a lot of work. Like when we first got married, we did not realize how mean I can be or how sensitive he can be, and that means you gotta go to couples therapy. So I think it's not realistic to just have it be easy all of the time, but like it's so worth the work, and he like really is my favorite person.
So I was raised in a Christian home with really loving parents. My dad was wonderful in a lot of ways, but he struggled with responsibility, and that left a pretty heavy burden on my mom to make sure that things were stable at home and that we were provided for. So when I came across teaching that said the husband is supposed to be the leader and the provider, and that a wife is protected if she submits to that leadership, that was really attractive to me because it was promising that safety that I was looking for. A big influence on me was Elizabeth Elliot. She was a writer who had been a missionary, bringing the gospel to unreached people groups, and she was so passionate about her faith. So when she said things like, when you get married, your job is to be your husband's helper, and his needs, his desires, his dreams take priority over yours, I was like, well, if she's saying it, then that must be the godliest way to do marriage. You know, I was young and idealistic and excited about following Jesus, and I just wanted to do it right. So when we got married, those expectations didn't play out because there's not a system that can make marriage easy. You know, it's hard to bring two people together. I tried really hard to be submissive, but it turned out that I did still have my own opinions, and then I'd have all this guilt and anxiety about disagreeing with my husband. But what we both needed was for me to find my voice, and it's been really wonderful to realize that I can bring my whole self to our marriage, and that that's wanted and needed, instead of just trying to perform a role.
Well, this has been a fun series. My family and I were on vacation last week, and we were so blessed. And I know our church was certainly blessed by Pastor Brittany's sermon. She was bringing it on biblical marriage. And if you weren't here, I want to encourage you to check it out on our Prodigal Church app, website, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all of our media platforms. Sarah and I have been together for 25 years. We've been married for 19 years. One of the things that I've learned, and it's been very clear since the beginning, is that we are very, very different. Okay? Every man is different. Every woman is different. It means every marriage is different. But one thing that every marriage has in common with each other is that there will be conflict. And our differences can lead to these conflicts. Here's some of the ways that has played out in my marriage. Okay, perhaps some of you can relate. Okay, I'm a hunter, she's a hinter. Now, I'm not saying that I hunt animals. Okay, I've never done that. I shot a squirrel with a BB gun like when I was 13 years old. I cried for 2 days. But when I go to the store to buy something, I attack it. I am not distracted. I've got to get this, and then I'm out. Sarah's a hinter. Have you ever had your wife offer you a breath mint? Okay, it's not a mint, it's a hint. Have you ever been walking through a store with your wife and she says, "Oh, that's nice"? She doesn't mean that's nice. She means check the price. And what she's saying is I want you to buy that from me, but don't do that now. Okay, that's too easy. I want you to leave the store. Go back to the same store another time and buy it. Okay, Christmas, birthday, or just because you love me. But you didn't tell me to buy it. Yes, I did. I said it was nice. Okay, just tell me what you want. No, she's going to hint at it. Okay, number 2, she tends to be a censor, and I tend to be a solver. I remember numerous times in our marriage when I'd come home from work and she had just come home from her work, and she's telling me about some of the issues that she's having with people at her job. And she's telling me lots of detail, okay, about everything that happened and it's taking some time. Okay, after about 30 minutes, I think to myself, I will step into this situation and solve her problem. So I cut her off. I say, okay, babe, I got the story. Okay, you repeat yourself 4 times. Now here's what you got to do. Okay, this, then this, then this, and do this. And when I got done sharing with all the things that she needed to do, her mouth was just open, just staring at me. And I was thinking, she must be in awe. She must be in awe of how intelligent and wise her husband is. She's asking the Lord silently, how am I so lucky to have married this man? And she looked at me and she said, I know all of that. I know what I need to do already. I don't need you to solve my problem. I need my husband to listen to me vent. She was right. I want to solve it. But that's not what she needs. Number 3. Okay, she gives details. I give the bare minimum. Statistics proved that when it comes to men and women, men speak on average about 7,000 words a day. Women speak 15,000 with gusts of up to 50. Ladies, do you ever wonder why your husband doesn't talk when he gets home? He used up all of his words. Okay? If he had 2 meetings, it's over. This is why we grunt, make weird noises. For week 4 of our Love Actually sermon series, we're going to be talking about love, actually, and how to handle conflict in the middle of it. 1 Corinthians 16:14 says this, let all that you do be done in love. But what is it? What is love?
Baby, don't hurt
Love
me.
is what wars have been fought over. And it is the core of what we desire for our lives. So we've got to be clear on what it is and what it isn't. Like if I were to ask you to define it, like I'm confident it'd be a difficult thing for you to do, which is very interesting because we live in a world that is so saturated and fixated on the word love, yet we struggle to define what it is. No topic has been written about more often, sung about more often as this concept of love. Love makes the world go round. Love is all you need. So what is it? Statistics say that about half of all 7th, 8th, and 9th graders claimed to at some point recently or have once been in love. So by the time you're an adult, like we should be Dr. Love, right? You grew up swimming in this stuff, but we're clueless. And often as parents, we're not much better. Like what happens when a 14-year-old comes up to us and runs up to mom and she says, Mom, when do you know if it's real love? Because when I'm with Billy, I feel this way and I get all warm and tingly inside. He makes my heart beat so fast. How do I know if it's real love? And what does mom say? Oh, honey, when it's real love, you'll know. Okay, that's what parents say when we don't know what to tell our kids. One of the reasons it's so difficult to define is because we use the word love for so many things that aren't really love. So we overburden the word love and we use it too broadly. 3 wrong ways that we've used it for sure is, number 1, making love. When we use the word love in this way, we're not talking about love. We're talking about something else. You can go back and listen to my sermon from 2 weeks ago to hear more about that. Number 2, falling in love. This concept has caused so much damage, caused a lot of romance in the movie theaters, caused a lot of damage in real life. Think about it for a second. Think about what we're saying, falling in love, falling. Like love is some hole. And I was walking along one day minding my own business, and now I've fallen and I can't get up. It's love. I'm in love. And if we can fall in love, now we can just as easily fall out of love. And it all seems so noble. There's no responsibility for choice. I was the victim. I couldn't help it. So we use this phrase as a cop-out, and we use it to justify any actions we want. Taken to the extreme, we can use this to justify breaking our own marriage vows, and the heartache continues. Paul says in Corinthians, love never fails. If there's some feeling or emotion that is tempting you towards failing in a commitment instead of honoring that commitment, that's not love. It doesn't deserve the label. So we're clear about that. And the third lie is this: love is a feeling or emotion. No, it isn't. Not in the Bible. Not in real life. Jesus weighs in on this concept of love. John 15:12. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. If love is an emotion, can he command it? Because he says, this is the command I give you. He doesn't say, this is the command I give you. Feel a certain way about each other. Just as I have felt a certain way towards you. Feel that way towards others. And by this feeling, everyone will know that you're my disciples. No, this is not what Jesus commands. He doesn't command us to feel a certain way. And if Jesus commands it, it must lie somewhere deeper within ourselves. It must be something more. Love is not nice and thoughtful words. Love is a decision. Love is sacrificial action. Love pays a price. Love costs something. Love is expensive. When you love, benefits accrue to the other's account at the expense of self. Love is for you, not for me. Love gives, it doesn't grab. Love is sacrificial action. Decision from the deepest parts of who we are. The kind of love that God calls us to in the scriptures is never a feeling, never an emotion. It is action, decision, commitment. So what is love? Love is the Jesus-looking choice to relate to someone as infinitely valuable. And this definition of love fits our marriages, our families, our friends, and everybody else. So whether you're married, single, or dating, love is the Jesus-looking choice to relate to someone as infinitely valuable. There's an old fable of a traveler who fell into a deep pit and he couldn't get out. Several persons came along and saw him struggling in the pit. The sensitive person said, I feel for you down there. The reflective person said, it's logical that someone would fall into this pit. The judgmental person said, only bad people fall into pits. The curious person said, how in the world did you get down into that pit? The perfectionist said, I believe that you deserve to be in that pit. The self-pitying person said, that's nothing. You should have seen my pit. The optimist said, cheer up, things could be worse. The pessimist said, be prepared, things will get worse. Jesus, seeing the man, took him by the hand and lifted him out of the miserable pit. As Christians, we're called to do the same thing. When someone is in need, the only response for the Christ follower is to do something about it. Saying that you'll pray about it doesn't count. Saying that you'll help later doesn't count. Doing something counts. What are you doing to love others? Honestly, it's a deep value, but practically, how are you living? What concrete things are you doing in your marriages that demonstrate love, that it's more than a feeling? How do you show Christ-like love to people that you work with? Many in our church yesterday served the poorest of the poor in our city at the Poverello House. They gave up their Saturday to do what? Love, actually. Do you help the people that God has placed in your life? And do you relate to them as if they are infinitely valuable? G.K. Chesterton said, "All people matter. You matter. I matter. It's the hardest thing in theology to believe." Wow. The whole Bible leads us to this. Romans 13:8, whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. Romans 13:10, love does no wrong to a neighbor, therefore love is the fulfillment of the law. We need to love and we need to act lovingly. Love guides our decisions. N.T. Wright said this, instead of just laying down a simple take it or leave it rule, Paul wants Christians to think things through for themselves. If you give someone a rule, you may keep someone on track for a day or two, but if you teach them to think Christianly, you'll help them go on making the right decision on their own. That's why Jesus teaches us that loving God and loving others sums up the law. Love is the great filter. That's why Paul declares, whoever loves fulfills the law. So we don't need to freak out about all the rules, the letters of the law. Just go out and try it and do the most loving thing. And the Spirit of God will lead you in this. Let me say it another way. Like you could ask me the question, John, do you hit your wife? John, do you hit Sarah? Do you beat her up? What do you think the answer is? I hope it doesn't take you very long to wonder. Okay, the answer is no, never, not once. But it would be interesting if I were to go on and tell you why I don't hit her. Well, because I've done my homework. And I know that in the state of California, it would be considered spousal abuse and assault. Okay, it would be a criminal offense. She could press charges. I could be arrested. And if I were arrested, I'd have to go to jail. And I know that those orange jumpsuits make my butt look big. And so, I'm a smart enough guy to work my way back from that and go, better not hit my wife. So, you've got the right behavior out of me. But am I involved in a loving decision? No. There's no love there. There's self-preservation according to the letter of the law. And that's the way of law. The way of Christ is not law. It is rather asking the question, what dynamic should I have in relationship to others? What's the loving way? And if I get that right, the behavior will flow out naturally. 1 John 4:7-8. Dear friends, let us love one another, for our love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. Maybe the three most beautiful words in the Bible. Maybe just the three most beautiful words. God is love. The DNA of the divine is love. It's not an emotion. It's a decision. But over time, in our relationships, in our marriages, we can forget this. See, marriage is not about how quickly you can get offended, but how quickly you can forgive. Love moves us towards forgiveness. The more intimate the relationship, the more infinite the offense. Offense is an event, but offended is a decision. Is there a way to live less offended? And can the prison of offense actually be escaped? Now, in the car while driving, Sarah and I, like most couples, have our issues. See, she's a great driver, but she's not good with directions. I'm amazing with directions. but maybe I'm not the greatest driver. And when she's driving, she's talking or telling a story, I'm looking ahead, knowing that she needs to be in the left lane. Okay, and she's ramping up the story. So instead of interrupting her and telling her, you're going to need to turn at the next light, I just point. Drives her crazy. I think I'm courteous. She thinks I'm annoying. Or I'll tell her, you're going to want to get off on Bullard here. And she says, I know. Or I try the other way. I know that we need to get off on Bullard. And she's in the far left lane. But she knows how to get there. Vroom. She goes right past Bullard. I say, you should have taken Bullard. She goes, why didn't you tell me? Okay, these things happen. And then we talk back and forth about it. Offenses will come into our relationship. It's not a question of if. It's a question of, what are you going to do when they show up? So I say something, or Sarah says something, and it's an offense. Or like it's something I did, or something that I didn't do. It was an unmet expectation. And unmet expectations are a breeding ground for offense. And the breeding ground for unmet expectations is unexpressed expectations. This is why communication is so important. So here's what happens in our relationships. The other person does something. Okay, there's an offense. She doesn't understand. She's nagging me. And the devil's like, yes, she doesn't care about you. She doesn't appreciate you. And what happens is I'm taking the offense and I'm building a fence between us. So what does the other person do? I feel like I'm not a priority. Everything's about work, work, work. And then they're taking the offense and they're constructing a fence. And every time you think about it, you dig in that post deeper. The more intimate the relationship, the more infinite the offense. And each piece isn't that heavy. That's how it works. But once you have built up so many offenses, you've wedged something between you and your spouse. You don't even realize it's happening because it's no big deal. But it's one after another. It's just not just getting off of Bullard when you need to. It's just another work event. It's just, you forgot our anniversary. And now you're thinking, I'm the only one who ever changes the toilet paper roll. And by the way, it rolls over, not under. I guess I'll do it again. No, don't worry, I got it. No, I would love to get up with the baby in the middle of the night again. You've got to work. And now what started as something small, now you're questioning why I said I do. And notice, the more we choose offended, it becomes less about us and all about me. All because of offense. Where'd the love go? We don't talk anymore. Well, you've constructed something between you two, and now you're living in different spaces. Sure, you sleep next to each other, but your hearts are in different zip codes. The enemy's agenda is destruction, his strategy is division, his tactic, offense. But thankfully, we've been given a cure for offense. Forgiveness. God is love. Let's read that we're never more like Jesus when we forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. Jesus does it for us. Forgiveness is like a muscle. It gets stronger the more you use it. If only we could find an example of someone who loved even in the midst of offense. If only there was a higher being that had every reason to not to forgive, and yet forgave anyway. If only there was someone who hung on a sinner's cross and took the offenses of the world and bore it on himself. Jesus, I pray that we live in love and forgiveness, not offense. God, I pray that the differences in our relationships, yeah, they may cause conflict, but God, I pray that we see the beauty in the other, and that we treat everyone as infinitely valuable because they are. We need you in this, Jesus. We love you. In your name, amen. I want to thank you so much for joining us for Prodigal Church Fresno here online. And today is our trunk or treat event. And so if you're in the Central Valley, if you want to come by between 10 to 12 at Bullard High School, we are going to be having a lot of fun. There's inflatables, and there's candies, and there's trucks, and there's carnival games, and there's so much more. So you are invited. It's a free event for the whole community. Also, this was supposed to be the finale of our Love Actually sermon series, but you know what? We've added another week. There was just too much to say. And so next week will be the finale of our Love Actually series. We can't wait. Grace, peace in the Middle East. Happy Halloween.